Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the M Word, and today we're looking at the wonderful world of COBie, handover information generated inside of Revit using the BIM Interoperability Tools, and how we can to use those tools in the best possible way. It's my favourite subject, so I think we'll just end there. Only kidding. So good to have you on board. Thank you for joining us once again. I try and do these comedy things. I'm probably not funny, but it makes me feel better. So I'm just going to keep doing them. So if you don't like them, sorry. If you like them, great. They're going to continue. But anyway, thank you for all of you regular watchers that are watching today. For those of you that are new, make sure you keep following us on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Insta, so on and so forth. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit the bell to turn on notifications, and check out the other videos that we've got, because as well as these live sessions every Thursday or most Thursdays at 2 p.m, we also upload a plethora of other content on there, which really should help you if this is interesting. So if you like Revit, if you like Inventor, if you're using those in your workflows day to day, 3ds Max, VRED, Vault, BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud, whatever else it might be, then tune in, check out our lives and check out our YouTube channel, and hopefully it'll be of interest. But please give us a like and give us a subscribe, and jump onto the comments and give us some feedback as well. So I hope you've all got some sort of beverage. Today's session is sponsored by tea for me. Because the idea of these sessions is a virtual coffee break. So it's a 20-minute, 30-minute session to show you something, give you a workflow, a tip, a trick, or something that will hopefully help you out. As I say every week, these are warts and all. So these are just off the cuff, showing you how to use something in the most simplest way I can present it or explain it, completely from scratch. So for this today with COBie, hopefully you've got some coffee, because it's not the most exciting of subjects, but hopefully it's going to be useful. So let's just shrink myself into the corner of the screen. Oh, by gum, there we go. A little bit smaller. And let's share my screen. Perfect. Okay, so I'm using Revit 2023. From memory, this kind of workflow's near identical, probably for as long as I can remember, with the BIM Interoperability Tools. Yes, some of the older applications are slightly different with the COBie toolkit. The classification manager, which we're not really going to focus on today, has changed a lot in the latest version of Revit. But generally speaking, the workflow is very much as it is in this version of Revit 2023. And as with all of these sessions, I'm starting with a completely blank, completely empty model. So I haven't got anything open here. I'm going to start from a new file using a construction template, and everything is from scratch. And hopefully by doing it that way, it makes it clear, it makes it concise, and it actually allows you to take a very non-specific example and put it into your own work. Or at least that's my idea. You could say that I'm just being lazy and I'm not preparing in advance, but I like to think of it as helping you. So that's what we're going to go with. So I've got a completely blank file. Now, COBie is a handover format for building information modeling workflows. And what it looks at doing is capturing and detailing information against your managed assets. So at Man and Machine Towers today, I'm in the recording studio, and inside this room I can see several assets that, if I had a model of this in Revit or ArchiCAD or Tekla or wherever it might be, there's going to be some assets that I'd need to assign asset information to. I've got some lighting, I've got a smoke detection system, I've got some air terminals in here, I've got some air conditioning controls on the wall there, I've got some electrical bits and pieces down here that clearly you can't see. I don't know why I'm talking about things that you can't see, but those are managed assets. The idea behind COBie is it's there to define handover information that a client is going to use within their CAFM, computer-aided facilities management system, so that they can manage those assets throughout their life cycle. So we're looking at, what is the component? How can I identify it? Where can I find it in the building? What's its serial number? What's its warranty information, and stuff like that. Yes, a client might ask for a little bit more or a little bit less, but it's that kind of information that we're wanting to attach to components within our Revit file and then push them out into a very, very specific format. So to start this off, I'm just going to draw a really simple room. I'm going to use a basic external wall here, and I'm just going to do maybe a rectangle building with a couple of internal rooms, just so we've got something a little bit different to look at. So let's go with an internal partition of 75mm stud. Let's put a couple of internal rooms here with a corridor, and let's just throw a couple of doors on there, maybe a window or so. I'm going to do this with really, oh that's huge, really obvious components. So let's use a double door on there, as I've made it so darn big. There we go. So I'll have a double door there for the entrance and a few single doors. I'm not really doing anything specific with regards to the actual components themselves. I'm going to use a couple of different instances of component and a couple of different types of component as well. So maybe within this room we've got a little cupboard at the back here perhaps, and I'm going to use a different type. Now, to keep this really simple today, I'm actually going to use architectural components. So I'm going to be a little bit naughty and use things that aren't generally going to be managed assets or maintainable assets in a building. But hopefully it will give you an indication or an understanding of exactly what we're trying to do. So I'm just going to load in a couple of different doors, because that's going to give me something that is really quite clear as to the different types of those that I have in my building. So let's place in a couple more, just because we can make this nice and messy. Great. So let's just do a create similar on there. Create similar, there we go. So I've basically got a great big mess here, but nonetheless, it works for the example that we've got today. I'm going to trim that, not trim to corner, please don't trim to corner. Where's my trim button gone? Single element to there, that one. Great. So I've got a lovely start of a building, a design that's going to work for the purpose of this. Let's just place a floor on it, just so that we've got a base to work from. Let's go into the core, that's absolutely fine. Let's go into a reflective ceiling plan using level 0. I want to place ceilings on the model, so I'm just going to do automatic ceiling and click once in each enclosed space to create them. I'm going to do single story building here. So let's go onto my level 1 and add a really simple roof. I'm just going to use a flat roof for the purpose of this. We don't want slopes, maybe overhang, I don't know, about 250mm or so. And go around the outside of the building. Here, 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 and here. And just because it's going to affect my OCD if we don't, I'm going to define a roof on one side, like so, but with a small slope, just so the rainwater would drain off if it was actually a building. There we go. So there's my really nice looking shoebox, and we have a building. Now, remember, we're working with manageable, maintainable assets. The key to this is the handover is going to need, as I said earlier, to explain what the components are and how we can find them. And COBie as a format is completely hierarchical because of that very reason. Okay, so you have a building. Within the building, you have levels. Within the levels, you have spaces or rooms, and within those rooms, you have components. So for this to work properly, not only do I need a building with some components in, I'm also going to need to have in that building some rooms. Okay, and then I'll put some more components in there as well. I'm using an architectural biased template here, so I'm going to use an architectural room, but the process is identical if you're using MEP spaces. All right, so let's go ahead and use room, and I'm just going to place some rooms in here. I'm not really that fussed about what they're called or numbered for the purpose of today, as we are a little bit pushed for space, but I'm just going to throw down a load of minuscule tiny rooms here. Come on, room tag, come here, thank you. I'm going to throw those down in the model just so that we've got something that we can identify them on. They're currently all called room, so I'm going to rename them ever so slightly. Corridor. Let's have this one as office. Let's have this as office store. And then let's have this as kitchen. This one can be tech room. And this can be, I don't know, server cupboard or something like that. Who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? Server room. That'll do. Great. So I've got my really detailed building. I suppose if it's really detailed, we can put some windows in there. Hooray. Beautiful. Even better. So we've got a great building here. or not, as the case may be. But I'm just going to put a save on. I'm going to throw that on my desktop and just save it down as project 3. Now, we've got some rooms. I'm just going to throw in some components just so we've got something else in there. And again, for those of you that are following BIM workflows aligned to the UK BIM framework or ISO 19650, don't think bad of me, but I'm just going to place in some furniture, again, to really try and keep this simple to understand and simple to follow. It doesn't matter what the component is, again, managed, maintainable assets. But what we're going to do is just throw down some furniture. I can see I've got a couple of questions on the chat. I'll do this in a second. Like the name, by the way, BIM Man COBie. That's quite a good one. So let's just place in some seating. That'll do. Let's place in a chair. That one, and that one. Good. Again, I don't really mind what they are for the purpose of today. I just want to have a few different components that we can use. So that one's got one type. Maybe I'm going to put 2 types of this desk in. One there and one. Oops, grab the student one. Where's it gone? One there. No, yep, there. I made the world's smallest building here. Let's go with another chair in there. And finally, another chair. Where's the yellow one gone? There you are. In there and in there. Great. We better put something in the corridor as well, I guess. Let's use another couple of chairs will be okay. 3 chairs in there. Great. So with these components, what we want to make sure is they're within the bounds of the spaces. So to explain this, I'm just going to jump into a section. One thing that's really important when it comes to working with COBie, again, is making sure that your components are either within your space that you want to use, or you have updated your room detection point. I can't remember the exact terminology on it. I'm sure someone will come into the chat and help me out there. There's a point in a family that you can add for a room. It's room detection. My colleague Mark did a fantastic video on this showing how to explain it using Lego characters, which is great. So check that out on our YouTube channel. That is if it's been uploaded yet. And what's important is that your components sit within inside their room. So remember here that I created these rooms earlier after I generated the ceilings. So you can see the ceilings are non-room bounding, and that room is going up to the underside. Actually, it's disconnected here, isn't it? It's not even going up to the, yeah. So it's just going 4,000 off the floor. If any object's room bounding, so if I turn room bounding on the ceiling, the room will stop at the ceiling. Therefore, if you're using MEP spaces and you've used the architectural elements to create the space with a bounding ceiling, your components in the void won't be picked up necessarily in that room. So you've got to be really careful about that. For the purpose of this, we're absolutely fine. Everything is sat within the room that I want to use for the purpose of the demonstration. The next thing I'm going to do is just select one of those chairs and just show you that there's no COBie data against this at all, whether it's against the instance or against the type. Now, if I put my BIM hat on for a second, what we must do in the UK, I don't know about those of you that are logging in from overseas, but in the UK we use Uniclass 2015 as a classification system. COBie in the UK, or BS 1192 Part 4, must align or correspond directly to that Uniclass system for the category of your components. So for a couple of these, I'm going to go and classify them quickly now using the BIM Interoperability Tool to classify them. Again, check our YouTube channel out for some more information on there. But I'm going to go in a 2D view, BIM Interoperability Tools, and I'm going to say Assign Classifications over here. The first thing I need to do is just load my Uniclass 2015 database, which just takes a couple of seconds. And then with one screen, this is a bit of a pain, but I come in and select items within my screen, and then I can literally define a classification for these using an element code or a PR code or whatever else it might be. So I'm going to use a product code, a PR code, and I'm going to choose search for chair on here, or seat. Chair bed, no, desk chairs, no, not deck chairs. Easy chairs, that'll do. COBie's easy, so we're going to use an easy chair. Easy chairs. Let's use that classification and assign it. Now, because I've got several of that same type, it will assign it to that. So I'm going to do the same thing for these ones. I'm going to go and select this one, and I'm going to say that that one's a dining chair. I'm going to select this one and say that that's a fitted chair, seat and a bench. I know it's not, don't think badly of me, but you'll get the idea. Let's select this desk here, do a little search for desk. Computer desk, great, let's assign that one. That was the student one. For this one over here, let's grab an office desk and assign that one. And I think that's pretty much all of our components. What I should also do is classify the building that I'm working on and things like that. So what you'd want to do is deselect the whole thing, assign a classification, put it against the building. You'd want to make sure that you go to facility. Let's just say this is an office complex. Great, assign that. Let's go to manage and project information. Fill out all of these details naturally, making sure that you also fill out the classification like I've just done. And then we're going to save. Now we've got those components classified, I'm just going to go and grab a swig of my tea. Looking at the questions coming in, BIM Toolkit in Revit 21 and later is out the box. So it installs through your Autodesk desktop app. Thank you for that question, COBie. And the other question, are we required to remove COBie data parameters? Contact me offline and we'll have a chat about that one because I'm not quite sure what you're getting at. So let me carry on. So we'll go to the BIM Interoperability Tools tab and we're going to go through the COBie extension. First thing you've got to do is go into contacts. We need to define who you are, who's created this file or who's doing this COBie data drop. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a contact. Oops, I've already got one in there. Add a contact and I'm going to add my information in here. So if you want to spam me, feel free. Please don't spam me. I'm going to say my email address is that and the company is Man and Machine. What I should have said is if you want to buy some Revit or some Revit training or BIM training or anything else, drop me an email. But I'm not going to. I'm definitely not going to put my mobile number on there, but I am going to categorize myself. And I'm going to say I am a project manager, maybe, something like that. Let's see what's on there. Manager. Project. That'll do. Space management person. Again, I'll just put some name in here. Technical organization code MAM001. Again, and I'll go and fill out the information. I'm not going to do that for the purpose of time. I'm just going to put a load of zeros in there. But essentially, that contact is now set up. You set up a contact for each person that's doing a COBie drop or is touching the design in the model. Okay. After you set up that contact, we're going to go to Set Up Project. We completely skip over Set Up Families. That tool is only there if you want to configure or push COBie data to your family library, which might not already have that in there. So just ignore it for now. Go to Set Up Project. And then you've got several sheets that we go through and set up one by one. These are all pretty straightforward, so stick with me. I'll try and give you a best explanation I can within the time that I've got. There's quite a lot to go through, so I'm talking quite quickly. I apologize for that, but again, check out our YouTube channel. There's slower paced videos on this kind of stuff, or get in touch. We offer some really good one-to-one training on this kind of information. So we're in the UK. That defines what template we're going to be using. And I want to use a global unique identifier against each object in the COBie spreadsheet. I want to use the units I have set inside of Revit. We could override this if I want to, but I don't suggest that you do. And our currency is in pounds. We're using Revit's default area creation method. Again, choose the one that's most relevant for your project. And then go down the list top to bottom. So firstly, we look at how it's going to define where objects are stored or saved. So if I'm architectural, I'll choose room. If I'm MEP, I'll choose spaces. If you're a structural engineer and you're being asked to do COBie and it's on an element that you should be doing COBie on, then you might choose the room because it's more relevant for what it is that you're doing. But essentially, we can go down each category and choose whether this toolkit will look for a room for its positioning or look for a space. Just set it up to work with the model that you have. At the bottom of this screen, we've then got a name builder, and this name builder is the same for each and every element that we're about to extract in COBie. All it's going to do is it's going to build a COBie compliant, wrong word there, it's not going to be COBie compliant, it's going to build a name which you should ensure is COBie compliant based on Revit parameters. In other words, most people will say that that COBie name, it's got to be unique, absolutely. It needs to align with maybe BS 8541 from a product naming perspective for your families and things like that. So do a little bit of swatting up on those standards and make sure you're covered. But essentially, for each space, Revit will put a line in the spreadsheet with the Revit category, so room in my case, _1, room _2, room _3, so on and so forth. I'm happy with that for this example. I'm going to leave it as it is. And we want each space listed in its own row. I'll show you how to tweak this when it comes to the components in just a second. We then have types. COBie has types and it has component. Think of them as a Revit type and a Revit instance. So I've placed several of the same chair around the building. That's one type. But each one of those is a COBie component. So it's the same as a Revit instance. A COBie component is a Revit instance. A COBie type is a Revit type. Okay. So how is it going to name the types? Exactly the same name builder. We've got Revit category, so furniture _ the family name, office chair, can't remember what it was called, _ whatever the type mark is, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. Again, make sure they're compliant to the standards in your exchange information requirements. There we go. And align that to your BIM execution plans as well. Once you set up that name convention, and you just add fields as necessary here. Okay, so if you want to include the GUID, you include the GUID. If you want to include the description, you include the description. We then say the category. As I said earlier, in the UK, we need to use a Uniclass. So use my classification manager PR code. If that's blank, it should be NA. We shouldn't be using any workarounds for that, really. Okay, description for this, family and type is fine. On to components, same thing, define the name, add and remove and customize the field as you see fit. Be very careful on the systems one. We name the systems if you're MEP. The category, again, we generally link that to the classification manager inside of Revit. So it's a Uniclass PR code or SS code, sorry. And then on these two, just be really careful. Excel has a limit of 1,038 rows. On big buildings, you will hit that on a COBie export if you're not careful, and it will crash Revit and it will crash the COBie export, and you'll be given no explanation as to why. So be careful with these two tick boxes. Every component listed in its own row. If you're being asked to export a COBie sheet with every duct, every fitting, every fixture, every pipe, you're going to go over that limit if you've got a half decent sized building, and you shouldn't be doing that anyway. It's maintainable, manageable assets. So generally speaking, you should be fine with every component on its own row, but you might need to go into one row if you're being defined to do so. Also, over here, include components. This says export every system's associated component to the spreadsheet. In my opinion, and this is my personal opinion, you should never tick that box. The reason being, it doesn't matter how else you set up this toolkit, this tick box will override it and put all your ducts, all your pipes and everything else is in there. Just leave it off. What attributes do you want to appear on the attributes sheet in COBie? So don't tick everything, it will kill things. What you want to do is if you're being asked to fill out the attribute sheet on your COBie spreadsheet very specifically, so on top of the COBie information, I want to know the fire rating of all the doors. We come down and find our door category, we look at our instance parameters or our type parameters, and then we pick up fire rating, which I'm going to do for the purpose of this. So I'm just choosing one. Most EIRs and BEPs will have a few customer-specific attributes that they want for their computer-aided facilities management system. So we just come in and select the individual ones that they want. It will put those onto the attribute sheet on COBie. How to coordinate. Bounding box is fine for me, but you can use a location point or line, should you want to, from the families. And then finally, how do we want to manage this data once it's in? Do we want to go through and use edit type and edit instance properties, or do we want schedules? We can turn schedules on to be placed into our model to make the editing process easier. I'm going to leave them all on. You have got a parameter mapping sheet. Be very careful with it. If you start editing parameter mappings, that's where things generally stop working, so be really careful, but we can tweak mappings of properties if you want to. What's a better route is if you use Dynamo. So for example, if you've downloaded a family from the MBS, it's got a load of COBie data in there, but it's not in the fields that the COBie toolkit is expecting to find it, so it will try and recreate it. Use Dynamo to say, go and grab this information from that MBS family and put it in this standard COBie parameter. At that point, everything works okay. And again, appreciate this is very fast, but please shout, drop us an email, get in touch, and we can talk through this thing a lot slower and a lot more specifically with you individually as we need to. So I'm just going to save and save and close, and that's just going to it might upset it. It's COBie after all. It's going to update my settings and put my schedules in there ready to go. So if I select one of my chairs now and look at the instance parameters, I've got COBie data, all empty. If I look at the type parameters, I've got COBie data, all empty. Before I go any further, I'm just going to deselect everything, go to Manage, go to Project Information, and alongside what I had earlier, you can see I now have a load of COBie data in here as well. Okay, some of that you just need to go in and fill in automatically, and also this this information here. So let's just go in here, detailed office author, Gareth Spencer. Okay, so once I've got that, I'm just going to put a little save on. We're going to go back to our BIM Interoperability Tools. We've set up contacts, we've set up the project. We can export and import those settings. So do this once on a project, export it. On the next project, import those settings in, tweak any specifics to align with your BEPs or your EIRs, and save it again. We now choose zones. COBie again is hierarchical. Building, floors, spaces, so on and so forth. We can have zones in here if we want to as well. I'm just going to create one zone and put everything in there, like so. Let's choose all of these rooms and just whack them into that one zone. Again, you will have to look through your BIM documentation to define how your project should be set up from this perspective, but I'm just going to throw them all into one. And once you've set up your zones, we're at a point where we can start to choose what objects we want to push out information to. So I select. So what are our maintainable assets in this Revit file? I don't want to push anything to ceilings. I do want to push things to doors. I do want to push things to furniture. And that's kind of all I've got in this model, to be honest. Rooms we want to go to. We don't want to go to roofs. And we need to go to levels. Don't forget to put rooms and levels on there. Levels as in a level marker or a level line, or a view, I guess, inside of Revit. That's what the COBie floors will be. So you need to push information to those. This system doesn't work with groups at all. So all of you architects that are working with groups, this doesn't work with groups. You either have to do them one by one or ungroup those components and set the parameters. So just be wary on that. I don't have any groups, so I can skip them. Apply and close. What this will then do is it will start building a picture of what components I have in the model that it's going to need to fire information to. And it's going to go through that on all of those different objects. So if you've got a large model, this might take a minute or so just to populate. In this case, it's like 10 seconds. It's not long, but my model is eeny beeny tiny. So we have our component there. And then finally, we hit update. What this will do is it will allow me to say, take any parameter and update it. We can choose to only update that parameter if it's blank, or we can say, do you know what? Update everything. Okay. We can also individually skip them if we know that we don't need to update them. Apply only to elements marked for COBie export. If there's any values that are blank, they should never be blank. They should always be n/a, so set them to that as necessary. And again, it won't work with groups. So make sure you're not using a screen that you can't click the button on, which is really frustrating. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. good guess. 4K screens still don't work that well with some of the products, unfortunately, which is a bugbear, but hey ho, it is what it is. So now if I go and select this chair and scroll down a little bit, we can see that we have some COBie data. I've not gone to the nth degree because I'm trying to push through something quite complex in a ridiculously short amount of time. But what you can see has happened is against that chair, it's put a tick on COBie because I've said furniture needs to be COBie. It's created by me because I've just run that COBie drop, let's say. It's put the created on time and date stamp based on right now. It's put the component name based on the category. I don't think I've got any marks on mine, which is why it's done that. So I've not actually put in a mark in here, which is why it's blank. So I'm going to have a few duplicates, but it doesn't really matter for this example. And then it's got rooms 2 because it's in rooms 2. Now, just to show you the update process, if I go back to BIM Interoperability Tools, go back to Setup Project, go back to Spaces, and let's just be a bit more specific with my names. So let's say I want to have add field, and I want to have in here name. So I want Revit category, name, and number. Save and close, and then go ahead and hit update everything, hit the hidden button. Now if I go and look at that individual chair, it will say rooms _ corridor _ 2. So it's really straightforward. There's stuff on there that it just can't fill out for you automatically. How can the toolkit know what the serial number is, or what the install date is, or what the warranty date is? For those that you have to fill in manually, and those ones you wouldn't know as a designer anyway, that's kind of your as-built stuff. You would use these schedules. So you'd come into schedules and say go to your COBie.component. You would filter this to show only the ones with COBie ticked by saying filter by COBie equals yes, hit OK, and then you would go through and update using a schedule. It's far easier. Or even better, use a tool like DB Link or something like that to link it with Excel, so you can do a round trip between here, Excel, use lots of copy and paste as necessary in Excel, and then push it back. But now, whether I select a room, it's got COBie data against it, or a component, it has COBie data against it. That's both in instance and in type. Finally, if I go to BIM Interoperability Tools and say create spreadsheet, it's far from complete, but I'm going to say go ahead and create a COBie sheet with everything on my desktop. Again, if you see Revit crash after waiting minutes and minutes and minutes to get to this point, it's likely you've gone over the 1,038 rows, so just be wary of that. It's just given me a couple of warnings. You shouldn't have duplicate names. I do because I'm not using Mark or anything like that, so yeah, I'm going to ignore those. And then in Excel, we're going to open up that file, which is there. And we can see that we've got our hierarchical format. So if we go all the way to the left, we've got our contacts, there's me. We've got our facility, detailed office, me, category we put as NA, so on and so forth. We've got our floors, our spaces. Okay. Remember in COBie, you've got these, the required ones. These are optional, so it depends on whether or not the clients ask for them at the end of the day. Let's go to type. Yes, I know that I've not got any type marks or anything like that, or instance marks on these, so the namings aren't great, but what we have here for these furnitures is the name, who created it, when they created it, uniclass : description, which is great, the description, and everything is starting to work. Yes, I've not done the whole hog with regards to the properties that are going in here, but generally speaking, it's everything that you want to do. You just keep going through that with regards to your asset information requirements, taking the information that's in there, making sure it's covered, filling out the properties, and using the COBie toolkit as you've seen today to push the automated stuff with regards to its location, which is really useful. If you need to produce that in an IFC as well as in a COBie Excel drop, which in my opinion is far better, you could export, for example, using where are we? COBie 2.4 design deliverable, MVD. which would push an IFC with those COBie properties in there. I haven't got time now because I'm already 5 minutes over time to go through the IFC outputs, but there is a YouTube video on our channel, I'm falling over here, which I created, which goes through how to export an IFC with the relevant mappings and export options, so on and so forth. It's a few years old, so maybe we'll get a new one up on there soon that's a bit more modern, but generally speaking, it should help you out. So, that's not enough time to talk about COBie, but hopefully you managed to follow along. As I say, check out our YouTube channel because there's a lot of content on there, and there's a lot of content not just about Revit, but also about ISO 19650, the UK BIM framework, COBie, IFC, BIM, and manufacturing and fabrication pieces as well. So check it out, stay in touch, drop us comments and feedback and let us know what you would like to see, because I can only come up with so many ideas of what to show every Thursday at 2 p.m. So let us know what you would like to see and what you would like us to present, and we'll come and do a topic and show something that you have asked us for and try and make these sessions and these virtual coffee breaks as useful as possible. But without further ado, that's kind of all I've got to say. I really hope that's been useful. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next week at 2 p.m. for the next session of the M Word. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you soon. Goodbye.